E-Gaming Bets. We accept bets on computer games online since 2011. Referral system for regular users and the first deposit bonus. Gaming devices store and the best choice of payment systems. Dota 2 and Hearthstone, Counter-Strike and StarCraft, World of Tanks and League of Legends. EGB.com. You know for sure who's going to win.
G2A.com, the best video game store ever! Fast as lightning, solid as a rock, cheap as duck! What's more, you can sell on it because it's also a marketplace. Remember G2A.com, the best video game store ever!
Welcome Counter-Strike fans to the second season of CounterPit. I'm Jimmy Nesso, and of course I'm joined by none other than PK Noodle. How you going?
Fantastic. I'm really looking forward to this match. As soon as I saw that NRG versus Enemy had been scheduled for today, I was getting really pumped up and excited because this is the first time that we've seen NRG play, and they've got an interesting lineup with a few Europeans thrown into the mix there, so I'm really looking forward to it.
I was going to say, I'm hoping you're a better starter than I am because I was starting very rough, but of course fantastic teams up against each other. So for the first time we see NRG play in the CounterPit League. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, it's an NA organisation, NRG, that's what it's known for. Has its roots in League of Legends, but they've recently expanded their brand to CSGO. I know that when Gob B was removed from our sports, something which he feels a little bit betrayed by from a few interviews in which he's given, but when he was removed, he was really looking for an organisation that would allow him to establish a team with young talent and at least one other experienced player to take some weight off his shoulders. That was something that was very important to him, and he has that now in the form of Ligia next to him. And I think it wasn't easy to create a lineup, but under the banner of NRG, they've managed to pull together those 5 players that really God B thinks will be in a position to succeed, have a lot of talent there.
Of course, it's fantastic for the scene to see such experienced players, I guess, coming into the North American scene, particularly in Gobby. I mean, we saw him with Mouse Sports experiencing, I guess, what you could call limited success with those guys. Probably not hitting the heights that they certainly did in CS 1.6, but now in CSGO, just attempting to try something a little bit different. But on the other side of things, we've got a red-hot enemy that we see coming into this. We've seen them... I think it was only a 1-1 against Winterfox, but they certainly controlled most of that first map, I believe.
That's right. I mean, they drew 1-1. They won on Overpass, lost on Inferno. Before that, they did beat Splice 2-0. So technically, they sit at 1 win and 1 draw at the moment. But really, if you look back a little bit further, they're coming in as a red-hot team. Like you said, they won the MLG American Minor Championship, took down a lot of big-name teams, at least those that are competing in this competition on their way to winning. And for those guys, it's clear their star player is undoubtedly Trista. He's been turning a lot of heads recently with his alt play. The team's been making waves. We still see some signs of inexperience, though, in their play. There's just sections of games, be it just a few rounds here and there, where they still find themselves perhaps making a few silly decisions that put themselves in bad spots that perhaps they haven't yet been punished for, but up against better opposition they would ordinarily be punished for. And I think that that's something that these guys can work on over the next couple of months as they look forward to a few other big competitions that are coming up in the NA scene, because they've certainly got a lot of talent and a lot of potential. And if they can iron out those little few kinks in their game, they're going to be a team to really look out for the future. I mean, Trusta's only 19 years old. He's been a strong performer against a lot of good teams very early on in his career. And definitely, I mean, if you read and listen to our friend Moses, he has that individual ability to be the next superstar in the words of Moses. So a lot of credential and a lot of pedigree being placed on this young man's shoulders.
Well, that's it. I think he's been identified and earmarked as the next great North American hope. I mean, that's a fairly big title to bear at only 19 years of age, of course, and really only in I guess what one could term as a second-tier American team. But of course, CounterPit offers an opportunity for some of these other teams to go overseas, which is fantastic in terms of experience. I mean, if you look at the depth of the field, probably missing some of the heavy hitters in the North American scene, which is fantastic in terms of news for the newer teams coming through, because if they do manage to take out CounterPit League, they'll be joining elite company overseas, Nick, who are the teams that have already been invited.
That's right. We've already obviously have the Team Immunity, who won the Australian division, but joining them would be some teams that receive direct invites, such as Envious, Virtus Pro, Navi, and we do believe the Australis team, the ex-TSM, because of course they did win Season 1, so we understand that they are also joining the ranks over there in March, which is when the land finals will be held. Of course, a prize pool of $80,000. But Jim, I'd like, if we got the opportunity now before this match starts, to really focus on NRG, because that's such an interesting team. It's the first time we've seen them play in this competition.
My energy.
Okay, I'll try, Jim. But not only is it the first time we've seen them in this competition, it's actually just going to be the second match, by my understanding and by my research, that they've actually played. Of course, they did play only a couple of weeks ago at the MLG Columbus Last Chance qualifier. They did lose their one and only match to Optic. They've got Optic got a lot of backing behind them, got a lot of expectations placed upon them, so it probably wasn't surprising in that instance to see them pull through. But they lost 2-0, and that's all we've seen from them. But I think the key talking point is going to be Gobby and what he brings. Of course, you've already said quite clearly, ex-Mouse Sports player. He's a Turkish veteran, played in the German scene for a long time, dating back to Counter-Strike 1.6, had a lot of success, was winning tournaments back then in Counter-Strike 1.6 with his German teammates. But when he was removed from Mouse Sports, he had a lot of offers to coach, but he was clear. He still had that competitive drive to play. Something that's going to be interesting for me to see himself and Legia coming across to America is how well his calling will be in terms of the fact that he'll be calling in English. That's something that he's actually steered clear of in the past. We saw Mouse Sports make some roster changes to deliberately have German speakers in their team that would allow Gobby to feel more comfortable with his calling, but that's not going to be an option here. So for me, that's a question mark. I think Gobby, though, is a sort of in-game leader where if he is comfortable and the communication barriers aren't a problem, he has a really clear understanding in his mind of how Counter-Strike should be played. That's how I could best describe him. I think he's the sort of player where you could implement him or supplement him into almost any team and he would improve them instantly. He would be able to implement his structure and get the players to mold into the gameplay that he wants to play, and it would bring out the best in them.
Well, that's right. I mean, I guess you're the authority, at least between the two of us, that has taken some time out. Funnily enough, a little known fact here, that PK actually spent a bit of time working in an analytical role for Renegades. So I do believe you do have the inside word on Gobby and how he structures his team. So
that's right. I spent a bit of time at the end of last year when Renegades were attending the DreamHack Open Stockholm qualifier, which was, of course, the qualifier for the major, Cluj-Napoca major. Renegades were drawn into a group with Mouse Sports, Liquid and Winterfox, funnily enough, because Winterfox were another team playing here. But in the end, Renegades never got to play Mouse Sports, but I spent a lot of time looking at Gobby, how his teams play, the structure and whatnot. Probably the best way I can describe is that definitely his teams in the past, and I expect tonight to see that they definitely prefer to play a slow-paced style of game. But don't be deceived, they definitely can mix that up with aggression. But definitely they prefer to start very, very slow. They have their set positioning. Gobby's very, very effective at putting teammates in a position to succeed. You only have to look back throughout his career. Teammates such as Nico recently, Chris J, Sykes back in 1.6 as well, or 6. Very effective at exploiting those star potential. And I think the fact that he's got Legia alongside him, the Serbian player, ex-Mouse Sports, has a lot of synergy with Gobby and understands how Gobby likes to play. I think that's going to take a lot of weight off Gobby's shoulders. That was something that he was very critical of when he was in Mouse Sports in the latest edition, where he really felt a lot of pressure to control all these younger players and all this young talent. Well, now with Legia alongside of him, and when you've got players such as Peter with the AWP in hand, extremely talented, Justin and Silent, the ex-Method players, Justin, of course, has been spending a lot of time recently playing Tom Clancy's The Division, we're told. But I think those two experienced heads will be able to bring out that potential within this young team, and I'm really looking forward to watching them play.
Well, that's it. It's always been about, I guess, finding that perfect balance within the team, and some teams obviously have found that successful mould earlier than others, but I think you're quite right in the sense that Gobby in Mouse Sports was very much under pressure to try and control and mould these younger players. At least in this NRG team, he has more established players at his disposal, but I do believe they're going to go live into the knife round very, very shortly. So I'd be interested to see, as you said, it's only early days for these guys. These guys haven't actually had a lot of time to mould and gel as a team, being only their second competition per se. So I just don't know how they're going to fare against an enemy side that's, I guess, a little bit more established as a team.
Yeah, I must admit, I am predicting a 2-0 to enemy in tonight's match. I mean, they are coming in red hot form. I think that NRG are just going to need a little bit more time to fit in, particularly with Godby having to now call in English. I think it's going to take a little bit more time for the guys to feel comfortable, understand their roles, and really succeed. Having said that, I mean, we've seen Peter in previous matches that we've had the opportunity to cast go absolutely ham with the AWP. So if he could produce that, maybe they could take a map off enemy, but I am predicting a 2-0. However, I think over time, if we're to look back in maybe a month's time, maybe 2 months' time, I think NRG will be able to compete and be taking maps off teams such as these.
Exactly right. I just don't think that potentially they're there just yet. But nonetheless, of course, this is a best of two between these two sides, and it places a premium on being able to win the matchup and take maximum points. So getting that 2-0 per se. Now, if I had a quick prediction from you, which way would it go?
2-0 enemy.
2-0 enemy, nice. Straight to the point, no messing about. Savage Noodle.
Well, that's right. We will go live now into the pistol. So on energy side, we do have Peter, Silent, Justin, Godby, and Lagia, just tagged up as L, not to confuse anyone. And on enemy side, we do have Mainline, Lucky, Uber, Relics, and Kusta, the star player. And we do see enemy starting out on the terrorist side off the back of losing that knife round. And you can see here, going for a bit of a cheeky mid boost. They've got two people up there ready to execute onto mid when they're given notice, but the rest of the teammates ready to head towards A. So perhaps an A split in action right here. You can see on the CT side, they've got two members in mid. Make that one now as we do see Lagia rotating towards A off the back of that smoke gym.
That's it, and they are poised and ready to go up that boost. They're just waiting for any potential pushes from behind as we see Uber make his way into the site. Of course, selling a bit of a distraction. In the meantime, Peter's actually been caught off guard at Highway there. 3 Ts in his grill, and they're going to hit that site. But great work by Godby there at the truck, just shutting down the movement into the A site, and just a lonely figure now in Kusta to try and make something happen for his team. He does get caught though. He does finally take down Justin, but of course Silent, the one there on the flank, cleaning things up. Nonetheless, a great pistol from NRG coming in, and of course immediately a pause coming in. I believe it's a microphone issue.
Yeah, that should be fixed up in a second, but I was just going to say I was a little bit surprised by the timing of that enemy execute. We saw them actually, one player in particular had busted out of A main onto that A site very, very early on before any mid sort of presence from their teammates could help to pincer that A site, and really they seemed to be picked apart before there was any support getting provided from those Highway players. So perhaps some early game jitters here from Team Enemy. Timing not quite there, but we'll now see NRG on an anti-eco round. And something we've seen over the last couple of matches from Enemy is that they've been very, very proficient at winning these eco rounds, these quasi-buys with Tech 9s. You can see a UMP actually in the hands of Uber, so who knows what he's going to put that to effect. That could be very, very deadly, of course, with the armor penetration on that gun, but we've seen a lot of back and forth on these quasi-buys from Enemy, and NRG need to be on their game.
That's exactly right. It's almost a very dangerous time for these guys in terms of their economy as well. As we know, that CT economy is very, very fragile and very susceptible to these force buys. So, be interested to see what they do with it. They are going to opt for a little bit of mid control as well. So, I do believe Mainline will be the one that will actually go up the boost there and try and take control of mid. In fact, 3 of them are sitting there. Peter is going to be the one called into action very, very shortly, though. He's very close to that boost, Nick.
Well, that's right. It's right down below. There's 3 members about to bust over the top. death from above will be the situation. You can see Kusta at the moment. I think he's just trying to sell a little bit of a fake, take the attention away from mid, because you can see that at the moment Peter is left to his own devices, whilst Godby does provide some support now. So good read from the Turkish player there as he comes to help Peter, but he's gone down early, puts a lot of pressure there on Peter. But meanwhile, Justin and Lydia there in the A side doing a good job of shutting down that attack. But we do find ourselves in a 2-on-2. So Relics, Kusta, all to do at the moment. They have recovered a gun, but good work there by Justin dropping Kusta. And it means that the bomb in hand with Relics has to choose his site at this point. It's good that for his sake, that he is quite far back, has his choice of sites. Moving slowly with 45 seconds left on the clock towards the A door, and Justin will be the man who'll really have to put up some sort of resistance here. He's already got 2 frags so far this round and still has 100 points of health, which is good. You can see that Justin has repositioned himself very, very cleverly here in the A main. Has good vantage points here. Can spot out the door if Relics does decide to try and walk out, trying to catch them off guard perhaps, but Justin won't have a piece of that. You can see in a moment his peripheral vision. Surely Relics will, well, I was going to say surely he'd walk into it, but not quite yet. But I think he is aware now and does take him down. Good work there by NRG. A lot of damage done though by enemy, taking down 3 members. But that should force their hand here in the sense that enemy will have to eco off the back of not getting a plan.
They will have to eco, as you said. So that money is obviously very important to get under control nice and early. No need to continue to force the issue and try and force buy. But they are going to opt for some B main control, sending 4 members of their side over nice and early. They have been smoked out, so that will delay things just temporarily, but the flash comes in through the smoke and they're just going to stream into the site. Silent, though, is ready. He has been flashed completely, but still manages to pick up the 3rd frag with a single P250 bullet. Impressive nonetheless.
Yeah, and a subtle difference I just want to point out between what we're seeing right now from NRG and what we've seen every single night so far in the CounterPit season has been the approach in which NRG took on those anti-eco rounds. We've seen previous teams, almost the tradition was buying, I think, 3 rifles and 2 SMGs, but we saw NRG opt into a lot of SMGs, confident in their ability to shut down those quasi-buys, and as a result, they got a lot more money. You can see the dual AWP setup coming out here, Peter and Silent.
Yeah, very expensive setup, though. It's a big investment from the CTs here, but of course, paying dividends early. Kusta is taken down by Silent, but Mainline finds that trade nice and early, so things are back to a 4 versus 4. Mainline nearly catches Godby through that smoke. Tagged down to 50 HP, but that spread of players sees T's applying pressure all across the map. And I think they're just going to take their time now as things break down and reassess the situation, see if they can work pick somewhere else and just hit that site.
Yeah, I think the difficulty, though, when you look at this sort of matchup is I think if you get to those mid to late round situations, I think it will tend to favour NRG. I think the experienced head of Godby, I think, is going to be out there able to make those right reads that I think potentially might catch enemy off guard. We've seen them be at their best so far this competition when they've been aggressive and taking it to their opponents, moving as a pack. I think they need to stick to that at the moment. You can see Lucky, the lurker of the team, just scouting out the A-bomb side. He's opened up the door, so they do know that he's there, but there's not much they can really do about it at the moment. But you can still see the bomb all the way back in T spawn at the moment, so someone's going to need to collect that. And with only 35 seconds left at the moment, there's no real purpose in the team. But Lucky, we spoke about his lurking skills. He does catch Peter off guard there in the A site, and as a result, it's really opened up the round here. All the frags are going enemy's way in the space of about 10 seconds. 4 members drop, and I think just NRG not having the information on the right reads, they're getting caught off guard, and you can't afford to have that happen on the first gun round. Let alone any gun round, actually, I should say.
I was going to say, let alone any gun round at all. Certainly not something you can allow to happen, but of course, Lucky showing us his lurking skills, opening things up at the A site there. In fact, he was so good at lurking, he even fooled the Go TV. So, nonetheless, of course, that heavy investment from NRG means that they are on pistol, but that doesn't matter for Peter. He still picked up that frag anyway, so enemy go 1 man down nice and early on and relinquish a little bit of B main control. As we can see, they do have members over towards B in the checkers there. They're going to boost into that vent and just move people along and re-establish some sort of mid control. Obviously, very, very passive here, Nick.
It's interesting for me to see the setup on the CT side. I was wondering whether Godby would perhaps partner up with Lydia, given that they're both ex-Mousesports teammates and had that synergy. But no, it's Peter, or at least it was Peter as he does die, and Godby opting to stay on the B site. So communication will be tested at the moment, though. Godby with that 5-7, of course, NRG did force the issue, and that's the best he could come up with given his state of play in terms of the economy. And He can hear the noise at the moment. Uber's close by, the entry freighter on the team. He's been going lights out lately and really stepping up when Kuster hasn't been putting up those numbers, albeit that has been few and far in between. But you can see enemy here. They're looking to try and make their way into the B site. They've got 2 members there. It is Uber and Kuster, the 2 members that we speak of. And really, Godby can hear them, but not much he can do about them at the moment. Silent does spot out Relics in mid, but you can see the rotation coming in now. Lucky and Relics, I should say, do collect the bomb, and they're on their way back to B, Jim.
That's it, but the site's wide open. They still have to cross into CT there. That smoke does eventually come down, and great work from enemy getting into that site, locking the CTs out. Leisure, of course, not able to do too much through that smoke, but Gobby finds a frag before he's traded out by Kuster, who nearly finds a second. Not before Silent finds a reply frag there. They are putting a lot of pressure on his site. The bomb is only just gone down, and it's still a long time to try and defend here. He's caught in the back there. Of course, Relic's not able to do too much. Great retake. Great pressure from NRG.
You sort of stopped there. I thought you
you were waving frantically.
I was just sort of that's a fantastic round by NRG there in the sense that they've now managed to get back on winning ways and continue that momentum. They actually, like we said, 4 sport, but that meant they had 3 rifles and 2 pistols. But despite losing one of those players very early on and found themselves in a 4-on-4, they were still able to recover. Enemy just too slow to commit onto that B bomb site. We've said already that they're best when they're moving very fast and very aggressive, but we didn't see that round. They need to remember what works for them. You can see at the moment they have 4 sport on this round, so we're still looking at really a do-or-die round for both teams here in the terms of the economy. 4-1, enemy moving very quickly towards the A side. I like this better from them.
Yeah, that double orb setup coming in again from NRG. Very, very heavy investment, of course, but they are up 4-1 at the moment. And as we said, things are happening all over at that A site there. As we could see, Justin just caught at that quad box, though. Does manage to find 2 frag, get that bomb down. Really important work from him there. Mainline does find the trade reply. And geez, I don't know what Leisure was doing up there, maybe biding his time. Didn't actually react at all. Mainline finding that frag. Nice and easy. The lurk has been realised. Relics, though, under a bit of pressure here. Peter missing his AWP shot. And now, I need to try and get away. And in the meantime, Relics is just going to try and force the issue. Actively lurk here, but the positioning of the CTs is actually quite good. Gobby finds a frag there. Coming out the squeaky door, he knows that Relics is likely to be there at Highway. Mainline is just biding his time in the site. They need to crossfire things. Peter finds that frag. Mainline finds a reply onto Gobby, and now has Peter breathing down his neck here at the quad box. As they dance around the box. Mainline coming up trumps for his team and collects the AWP as well.
Massive round by Mainline, getting that 4K. Of course, he is the in-game leader of the team, but he showed the other night, didn't he, when he was dropping, I think, 30 frags nearly against Winterfox, that he can certainly produce on the scoreboard as well. We also saw that very recently in the MLG Minor Championship when he was really stepping up his game as well as a silent achiever in the team, so to speak. And enemy desperately needed that round. You can see NRG forced onto Eco here. They have 5-7s and P250s across the board, a couple of flashes as well, so perhaps trying to put up some sort of resistance, but it'll certainly be tough, especially for God B, as the better flames get laid at his feet, followed up by an AWP to the chest from Kuster. So great start. Relic sets a frag as well, and this looks to be going the way of enemy at the moment. It's a bit of a tongue twister, NRG versus enemy.
That it is, but of course we're managing. We're getting there. As Uber takes a bit of checker control, he does eliminate Peter there, and Silent is quickly on the flank here, so if they're not careful they could be caught out here, as he does run straight through that smoke. Kuster getting caught out by Silent, who now has that AWP, so I do believe he's just going to try and make a getaway. Perhaps if he can do some damage here to their economy, that would be ideal, but that AWP seems to be more valuable in NRG's setup than anything else at the moment.
Well, that's right. I mean, that's $4,750 that we're talking about that he'd potentially be saving there. So when you've got players of the caliber of Peter and whatnot with an AWP, obviously extremely talented AWPer, made his breakout performance back in CLG in early 2015 with a massive performance or performances on LAN. So certainly you want to be saving that weapon. You can see Relics here trying to hunt him down, but the clever positioning there from Silent, but he gives it away there with the AWP shot. There was no need. That's a little bit greedy there from Silent. You can see him trying to get that AWP frag in the back. In the end, missed the shot and was punished as a result, and that's a massive misplay. You can see here on the economy side of NRG, they only have between 3 to 3.5k. They'll have to go with pistols again, and we can see that they're really now strapped for cash. Bad play there.
Yeah, very bad play. And I'm sure you live and you learn, and of course I hope he learns from that, because that ult would have been better suited in their hands here. It would have done a lot of damage potentially on what would term an eco, but an interesting boost coming in from NRG as Justin whiffs all of his deagle shots there, not able to frag the unsuspecting mainline in mid as he bides his time, and of course now they surrender mid control to enemy, and they basically have, I guess, rites of passage through all of the sites as Lucky on that lurk finds the frag on Peter, and pressure coming in on Ace from both sides as Lucky does find another frag here. Of course, a lot of mid control helping Lucky in that instance. Just the CT's not really sure which side to look.
Yeah, it was funny to see Justin actually not fragging mainline in that instance, because let's not forget mainline actually used to be a part of Team Method, Justin's team, until he was only just recently removed. So perhaps a part of Justin not wanting to frag his former teammate there. Some love still there for his teammates. Peace out.
Yeah, doing the best by his teammates there, making sure he doesn't frag them at all. But of course, a bit of pressure coming in here. Oh, sumptuous shot there from Uber.
I agree with that assessment. We can see, though, at the moment, enemy 4-all. I think they're now starting to get a little bit of a groove on. They've won 3 in a row, but more importantly, I think 4 of the last 5 rounds. So they're doing a good job at the moment of turning the table and getting that confidence going within the team. I think really the terrorist side will be tested for NRG, particularly with those communication issues that perhaps we were alluding to in the pre-game there for God B and his team. But at the moment, you can see Peter trying to go aggressive and catching Lucky off guard there. Lucky's just been lurking in that door every round, and Peter says, enough's enough, I'm going to bring the challenge to you, and does get the drop on him. And really, that's left a complete, I guess, one half of the map undefended from an enemy perspective. They got no pressure or presence at A at the moment. They've got 3 members near mid. They've got relics over towards the B site, keeping an eye on things, but looks as though mid will have to be the place in which they do attack now. It's too late to really fall back and try and take control of that A site, because now there's so much territory in which they don't know if it's clear or not. You can see very, very tentative play by the terrorists at the moment.
That's it. Mainline and Kuster just trying to get out mid. That smoke, though, just preventing them from making any advances there. Mainline, of course, running back to T-spawn to smoke off the Z connector. Now, they are going to attempt... Well, I believe Mainline's going to attempt to take mid control here. He does Molotov the vent there, and that will move Silent out and force his hand, and he'll now have to play from the checkers. But of course, you can see that bomb making its way across towards the B site. So that double stack, as good as it might look in A, unfortunately not going to be effective in this round.
Yeah, you can see Kuster, though, the Soul Man up mid, trying to hit that lurk frag, but at the moment, most of the action is going down at B, and Mainline, the in-game leader, turns to the entry fragger for his team. Kuster grabs one as well, so a lot of pressure on God B. He's the Soul Man in B. He's got no support at the moment coming his way. He does get mainline, but that's not going to be enough as he does fall at the hands of Kuster. All of a sudden, T's have complete control of the bomb site, but Peter does drop the bomb in hand there as they do try and take a quite difficult approach into the site through that headshot area, and as a result, NRG turned the tables here. Down to a 2-on-1, Kuster with all to do. You wouldn't count him out, but with 5 seconds left, surely it would favour the CTs, and that it does. Good work there by Justin, getting into the site, getting into that crafty little position there at headshot, but I have to question the path in which the bomb took to get into B. I think if they had just run up the stairs, quite funnily enough, it would have been an easier approach and they should have been able to get the bomb down. But as it was, NRG recovered that situation. Good work by those guys.
Yeah, just ruining the fact that they didn't have a smoke for Heaven at all, because that would have allowed safe passage of that bomb into the side. Of course, now that will bring up another buy round, should I say, for enemy. Nonetheless, of course, Kuster finding the opening frag there onto Peter in B, and he'll be disappointed to lose that duel. It's always going to be, for me, this interesting encounter between these two AWPers. Similar styles, very aggressive players, of course, with those AWPs, so that battle will ensue across the next 2 maps at least anyway, but Mainline's actually able to find a second frag onto B here, and now Gobby is going to have to channel his former self, and is able to eliminate Mainline here, but Lucky here on that lurk is able to catch out Justin in that A site, opening things right up, and that bomb is now scooting across to try and get itself into the A site. Only Gobby and Silent remain from NRG, missing his shot into the site there. Silent, of course, allowing them passage to plant that bomb. Uber here on the lurk.
Yeah, that's right. He's well positioned there at the mid-con to try and at least hear the footsteps. He would have heard Gobby running past. With the smoke that had been laid down, though, you can see why he was perhaps a little bit tentative to push through it. But I think if that smoke dissipates and he does, I guess, work up the energy and the confidence to push
Good
on
punt.
through, which he's doing now. He should catch them off guard. Does get God B there and just doesn't connect quite with the spray there onto Silent. Good work there by Silent. At least getting one frag and giving himself a chance to save the gun. But, oh no, for the second time this match we've seen Silent trying to save an AWP and actually going for a frag here. I hope this doesn't backfire for the second time for him. But something crucial that I just want to point out in terms of that round that I think perhaps is quite subtle as well. We actually saw Lucky there get that key frag onto Justin in the A side. Now, whilst it might have looked quite strange that he was able to open the door, run into the A side and seemingly catch Justin off guard, if we take note of what Lucky has done in previous rounds, he's opened the door, made a lot of noise, and not stepped out and taken the site. So I think from a CT perspective, Justin would have heard that door, and from his perspective, there's nothing different to previous rounds. He wasn't to expect that Lucky would charge right out. That's perhaps why he had a nade in hand that round. So subtle change there by Lucky, and good work there taking the A side and winning that round for his team.
Yeah, it's all about those subtle 1%ers, and of course, making it count there with now NRG on a bit of a force buy, just to try and support that AWP that Silent has now got a frag with. In fact, he picks up Kuster too, one of the main perpetrators for enemy. In fact, picks up a second as well, so good work from him. Relics, though, squares the ledger a little bit, finds 2 frags in A main, and will be stopped by that AWP Silent here. And now, Lucky in a 2 versus 1, does manage to cordon off Silent, so he does get that important frag, and now only Godbead left. In fact, he gives away his position by firing that 5-7, enters into a bit of a spam battle. Of course, the AK coming up trumps in that situation, but geez, great work from Silent. Very, very shaky round from enemy.
Massive 4K, wasn't it? Just goes to show, even though they didn't win the round, just goes to show how much damage and how much of a threat it can be, even just having one rifle saved. And perhaps if you'd done that earlier in the match, enemy could have been put under the same sort of pressure. But from an energy perspective, they don't seem to be managing their economy too well. We do see them on another eco round here. So I think the fact that they're winning rounds and then losing them straight after is really hurting them at the moment in terms of confidence and obviously in terms of being able to afford guns. But Ladia, obviously the Serbian player, ex-Mouse Sports, pushing up very close in mid there and catching Uber off guard. Good start to the round. They need to capitalise now on these opening frags. This is the second or third time that they've had a good start, but perhaps have let it slide towards the back end of the round. Kuster, very close indoor there, and he's not going to miss those sort of bread and butter shots as he takes down Justin. And Relics does manage to catch Lidri off guard, who was pushing for some more info there in mid. So another round that looks to be going the way of enemy. And very, very slowly, they're starting to look a little bit more comprehensive in the manner in which they're winning these rounds. Early on, it was a close tussle, but now they're just having their way a little bit. And as Peter does drop that frag onto the head of mainline there, he'll have a decision here to make, and surely the answer will be, oh, I'm going to save this rifle as we move into the next round. Forced in a 1-on-3 situation, not much HP, not much time on the opposite side of the map. It's a pretty easy decision for him.
That's it. Correct, Nick. I don't often agree with you, but of course, Peter doesn't really have too much of a chance in winning this round at all, as he's going to opt to try and save that gun. They really haven't forced the issue, though. They haven't really pushed to try and take that gun off him at all. The enemy money situation is definitely a lot better, though, than NRG's. That double AWP setup is something that has really cost them, and as you said, having their economy reset several times, it's just meant that they've fallen further and further behind, as now 5-7 to score. Enemy in control of this terrorist side on Cache.
Something I want to point out that we've spoken about previously so far when we've watched enemy and CounterPit is the fact that Kuster's currently leading with 13 frags for his team. Okay, what's surprising about that? Well, the surprising fact is that he hasn't actually had too many impressive rounds, so to speak. He's just clocking up these frags, finding a way to get these kills without doing anything particularly special. And that's a really worrying sign because he's not getting tested and yet he's still top fragging. In mainline there, some early aggression out mid, does catch one off guard. Not expecting one at sandbags though, so good positioning from Ladia, albeit at the cost of one of his teammates, but he converts with the second. Can he get a 33? Lodi at the moment steps out. Does so much damage there onto that member of Uber, but Peter in the end does get that trade back. So we find ourselves in a 2-on-2, already a very costly round for NRG, but at least from their perspective, they're still in it. It's up to Lutgob B and Peter at the moment, but you can see their positioning definitely out of sorts as Lucky has already assumed control of the A bomb site. Actually, Pete's towards CT spawn there. God be lucky that he was on point and does manage to drop him, but all left up to Kuster. You certainly wouldn't ever count him out in this sort of situation, but Peter there just misses the shot with the upwards flick. Always a difficult shot to make. Gets that positioning, that information there of Kuster. So it'll be interesting to see how he reacts. For the time being, he is running up towards highway. has that open hand, of course, his favoured rifle, and just looks for the time being, though he will go for that plant. You can see Jim, the CT sticking together here, opting not to go one-on-one.
Yeah, smart play from the CTs, just sticking together. And we'll retake together as well. Obviously, they recognise that Kusta has an AWP and can only take one shot at a time. So, as long as they don't get doubled, I do believe they're in good stead to win this round. So that retake will come in. The 40 seconds allowed now. That extended timer means that Kusta's shot missed here puts a lot of pressure on him. That Molotov will at least stop one of them from getting on the bomb just so soon. So, thank goodness they have kits. Otherwise, this would not be possible at all. Great retake.
Right. I mean, that's one of the differences that we're seeing now, isn't it, with the extra 5 seconds on the bomb timer thanks to Gaben, where perhaps had there not been that 5 seconds, that Molotov might have actually been enough to potentially clutch it out, given the fact that the bomb was planted and the CTs were so far away initially that it cost them so much time in getting to the A bomb side. But in the end, good work by NRG there. Particularly like the fact that NRG were willing to take that fight there in mid, though, Jim.
Do you think, though, Kusta would have made that shot if he wasn't double scoped in that situation? I believe he would have had a better chance, at least.
I've learnt better in the past to question Kusta on anything AWP related, Jim. I'm going to let him do whatever he so chooses because he's an absolute weapon. Definitely the star player in the team with it. So I'm not one to critique or question that play by him. But that's what he felt comfortable with, so be it. You can see players often tend to have their comfort zone, whether that be a single scope or double scope. And in that case, that's what he was feeling. You can see they are moving towards the A-bomb site, though. They do catch one member there, Justin, jumping over the boxes, showing his noggin towards the terrorists there in A-main. And Uber, he also spots one out at Forklift. So all of a sudden, the position of these NRG players are known. They're going to have to reposition themselves if they're going to have some sort of surprise element. Justin does just that. Catches Lucky off guard, who was checking behind the red box and not the quad box. And Silent using the smoke to his advantage. The Silent Assassin picks up a third for the round. Great work by him. We've already seen him go ham 1 or 2 rounds this match. Getting another triple kill for his cause. And all left up to do for Relics. Does manage to catch Laguerre off guard there. He was a little bit too aggressive there trying to finish off that round. I think off the back of such a strong start to the round, you could see that bloodlust in his eyes as he wanted to get that final frag and seal the deal. But as it is, you can see the bomb is now down in the A site, Jim, and for Relics to win this, it's mission impossible.
Sid, of course, he's given himself a good chance by finding that first frag. Still has 3 more to go, though, so that smoke won't help anything just yet. That bomb is firmly in the A site. And Relics is just trying to survive the barrage of utility that will no doubt be thrown his way. Of course, getting caught in that doorway is not going to help anything at all. NRG finding that round, and of course, all-important final round of the half coming up.
Yeah, I don't critique his play there in terms of going for that. I think moving into the last round now, his intent was clearly probably just trying to do as much economic damage to NRG as he possibly could. Probably he would have been a little bit more realistic in his expectations of winning the round, but just trying to take another weapon or 2 out of their hands. We can see at the moment, though, 7-all move into the last round of the half. Peter assisting with that AWP at the B side. He's done that for most of the match, though. Hasn't really mixed it up as much as I would have liked to have seen from him, but you can see enemy moving towards A. Again, they're committing very early on to these bomb sites, aren't they, at the moment? We said that when they're aggressive, that's when they're at their best. Well, certainly at the moment, they're not taking their time to scout out very much. They're making the call and then executing onto it. And we'll see how well the A defenders can fare this time against Silent and Justin, the ex-Method teammates. Now NRG, can they put up some sort of resistance? They can. They get 3 between them. Good work. Lucky goes to the plant. Laguerre takes him out. They're doing a fantastic job here, NRG, of really in this second half of the first half. If that makes sense, of coming alive. They won the last 3 rounds there, started to get some momentum going for them. Silent Jim, 19 frags, really leading the way for his team.
That's it, he's really stood up. And of course, we sort of questioned a few of his plays early on, but nonetheless, getting the job done for his team. Probably need to look to guys like Leisure and Peter, who, I guess the latter, actually had an AWP for a lot of the half when he could. As a result of a poor money situation, actually found himself quite often using a pistol instead, which is probably a reason for his 9 for 9 as opposed to Silence 19 for 9. But nonetheless, a lot of pressure being put on NRG by enemy on that terrorist side.
Things to look out for me as we go into this second half, because at the moment it's still in my eyes an even keel as to who's ahead and who's behind, putting aside the scoreline. I think for enemy, they'll be looking to be very aggressive. I think we've seen them to great effect on previous matches move Kusta around the map and catch enemies off guard. Cache is a map that lends itself to that. whilst Peter wasn't being as dynamic in his play as perhaps I would have expected, Kusta certainly has many options available with an AWP. He can go B main, he can pick mid, obviously, he can push A door, he can push A main. There's lots of more options for an AWP there, and I expect Kusta to definitely exploit that. But from an NRG perspective, going back to, I guess, what we've seen of teams that Godby has played for and led in the past, I actually expect them to play a very similar game style. Like I said, I think Godby's the sort of captain or in-game leader that I think likes to almost imprint his style of play onto whichever teammates he's playing with. So for their sake, I expect to see a lot of slow-paced play from them. Certainly in the past, from all the research I've done with Renegades in that analyst capacity, B site is their preferred site to attack, not A. B site. They actually have normally a default setup where they're sending 2B at the beginning of rounds, 2 mid, and only a single member towards A, which is quite unorthodox. That puts a lot of pressure and a lot of responsibility on that player at A to control A door and to control A main. But that was really, I think, the intent there is because they want to be well positioned to execute onto that B site in the mid to late rounds. Something also to note as well that I'd suggest from watching them play a lot is that a lot of their attacks, when they do commit to the bomb sites, they're dry attacks. By that I mean it's not necessarily throwing a million smokes or a million flashes. Something which Godby and his teams are renowned for is the fact that they use their smokes and flashes to position themselves well, but then they execute onto sites with this speed and this aggression which the counter-terrorists aren't expecting. They bust in with the guns out, great at making those trade frags, great at taking sites and using those utility grenades later to help defend against a retake.
It's going to be an interesting half nonetheless, as I said. Probably a little bit disappointed that we didn't see the AWPs being moved around as much as we'd like to, particularly with Silent. They've really only opted for pushes into that squeaky door. I would have liked to have seen them just switch it up. Of course, Kusta is one to do that for enemy. So once he gets that AWP into his hands, I guess we will be seeing him move around and keep NRG guessing. But as you said, that slow, methodical play from Godby's teams and the way he structures them is more than likely to try and get that information and make a call based on what the CTs are doing.
I think a massive plus as well in terms of the fact that Godby has obviously sought out and handpicked Legia to come across from Europe to America with him to play alongside this young talent. Obviously, they were ex-teammates, but also I think Legia is known within the scene, both Europe and America, for being a very smart, switched-on player, has a CS brain. We actually saw him taking a break from playing after he was in Mouse Sports. He was actually removed, and we saw him coaching various lineups. He was coaching Nylum in North America, Kingwin in Europe as well. And for the last few months, he's really been on the scene and has been expected to join teams or coach teams in ventures that ultimately fell apart. But I think having that second man, so to speak, on your team, if you're Godby, really takes that pressure off you. It's someone you can bounce ideas off. It's someone who I think understands the game really well. So I think that that's a good composition that they've got going in the team.
Yeah, it's always good to have that voice of reason in the team as well. Just someone to, I guess, bounce some ideas off, particularly when it comes to strategy as well, which I'd imagine he is quite well versed in. But nonetheless, they're going to go live into this pistol. And not messing around from NRG, in fact, sending 2 straight into A main and 3 through the door. Mainline, though, has something to say about that, finding 2 frags early on. Peter is able to find a reply, but only 2 there in the door, and already this is a 3 versus 2. Uber eliminating that man in the side, and now Peter is forced to go 1 on 3. Of course, Kusta has pushed all the way through B main as well, and he's going to potentially catch Peter out here if he's not too careful. So they've locked him in, and they know he's around this door somewhere, and they're playing this really, really cautiously.
That's right. You can see he's really trapped you on the door. Uber's got his eyes right where his position is at the moment, so there's really not much hope for Peter. Has to click on some heads, but it's Relics that's doing just that. But what an aggressive start there by enemy. We're expecting to see that on the T side. Well, they saved up all the goodies for the CT side there. Not stopping to walk. They just charged out of spawn holding W, and 3 members pushing through the door. They really caught NRG off guards as they were perhaps setting up for an execute onto the A site. Great play by enemy. Very aggressive. And I think Godby will be a little bit frustrated with the way in which perhaps his set execute or set strategy was annihilated before it even began.
Well, that's certainly one way to deal with very structured teams, is that grenade. Just nearly catches Kusta's teammate and himself off, but yeah, one way to deal with very structured teams is to try and unsettle their patterns, unsettle their defaults. And that's exactly what that pistol did to NRG. As the smoke comes down into A, Of course, they're going to stream into that site. First men in. Very passive play here from Enemy, though. Just opting to play retake on the A site. Not really taking their chances at all. That bomb will go down. Objective achieved for NRG. And whether or not they can defend it, I guess, will remain to be seen. But not looking too good early on as Peter gets hit in mid and will be eliminated from this round. And the post-play positions from NRG aren't that bad. Gobby sitting on the bomb there. Does find a frag with that CZ. Unable to find a second. Lucky finds the replies there. Just Silent sitting in A main. And of course, I do believe Justin has a good little flank coming up here on short. But of course, that bomb is being defused in the meantime. So, whilst the retake was sketchy, the frags came in. They just stuck that defuse and, of course, have won the round.
Oh, very close. So got down to a 1-on-1 in the end. That flank from Justin was just a little bit off in terms of the timing, but you can't fault him. He got 2 frags in the end, and the team did a great job of making Enemy rebuy in this round. You can see that as a result, they've actually bought 4 rifles here, almost expecting NRG to force the issue with their economy again off the back of doing so much damage, and they have done that. Justin has an AK, Lydia, Godby, Silent, Peter, all with pistols and armor across the board nearly. Few flashes as well. This is something I definitely noticed when I was working with Renegades, that God B teams love to force the issue. They have a great understanding of the economy. It's no surprise here to see them force buying for me. And you can see this time they have slowed down the pace though. Justin getting boosted up, trying to use that soul rifle to his advantage. Does spot out one. Takes a little bit of damage there, but Kusta crucially hasn't taken a single drop of health off of him. He's still on 100 HP. He's still operating at full capacity, and he spots out another member there and does drop him. So Kusta doing a great job, showing that's not all about the AWP. He can also get it done with the rifle as well, this young star player for the team. Peter scouts out one in the sight of A, of course, from the door, but can't do much about it with the tight angle and that Tech 9. And at the moment, Enemy doing a good job of picking and choosing their battles.
So as the frags come in, mainline does a good job picking up that second frag. Gobby getting absolutely smashed. As Peter actually picks up 2 with the Tech 9, so coming through and wrecking a few faces just for good measure. And now it's forced to 1 versus 2. Of course, doesn't have the bomb, but mainline has that under lock at the moment. Peter just seeing if he can find a frag on the flank. 35 seconds remain, and still a little bit of work to be done from Peter. If we look around the map here, fairly good positions, fairly standard positioning here from mainline. He's just going to play this one smart, play this one fairly standardly, as Uber does find Peter and simply cleans it up. Good work from Peter, maximising the amount of damage. As we said, 3 frags on any sort of eco round is the golden number, particularly ST, because essentially your losses aren't covered by that winner bonus at all.
That's right. You can see NRG. I mean, they've fully invested here. Again, they're quite strapped on cash, though. So a few of the players having to, or at least Justin having to go with the Tech 9, Silent having to compromise and go without nades. So not the ideal start for NRG. Probably if they were coming into this match with set executes and set strategies, it's quite hard to implement them when you're starting off really the first 4 rounds now, not having the utility to execute them. And you can see Peter was putting some pressure on B early, but he is backing off, and his teammates, though, are preparing for an A attack. A single pop flash from God B will do it. They'll bust now 3 through the game main. Justin coming out the door, and Uber and his teammate, their relics, with a lot of pressure on them. Uber, though, catches one off guard, spots a second, but doesn't commit to that step there. Could have taken him down. In the end, he gets another one from that bomb box area. Good job by Uber, doubling up there in that case. We're down to a 3-on-3. Peter, though, the man on the lurk, and he rips the head off mainline. The former Method Man himself has gone down, and God B, the in-game leader, well positioned here to really turn this from a difficult task into a near impossible task. But Justin throws potato nade. Won't be happy with that. Shouldn't be happy with that.
Bit of a custard arm there.
Bit of a custard arm. Couldn't quite get it over the box, but great round by NRG. Something that we've seen a lot, or that I've seen a lot from previous teams in which God B's played in, and when they're not putting pressure on B main early, that's normally a very, very clear indicator that they're moving A very quickly. In that instance, we just saw Peter perhaps lingering around B main for 5 or 10 seconds and then backed off. That would be a sign for me if I was a CT that had done my research. Be prepared for an A execute. In this case, you can see, obviously making the correct read that Enemy are on eco here. They have opted to go B and force. Just a single member in the site there, Jim. And lucky, he's going to need to be lucky in this instance to actually do something that could put up some sort of resistance. But that he cannot do, and NRG having their way.
Having their way and just getting into that site so easily. Gobby was the first man in and only had the UMP, so he was perfect fodder to get in there. Now Peter is on the lurk here. Does find the frag. Uber's in a bit of a tight spot here as the NRG players have him cornered finally finding that frag onto him. Kusta, though, last man alive, is a little bit further away. Just sitting at those sandbags in mid, just seeing if he can try and find an easy frag. But, of course, none of those frags are going to be easy. NRG have made their way out of that site quite comfortably and really haven't been put under any pressure at all this round.
That's right, this will be another round going the way of NRG, but something that I really like and a massive positive for NRG is if you look at the scoreboard, the two members that are doing the most fragging at the moment are Silent and Justin. Obviously the two players that came from Team Method, but coming in, one of the questions that I had would be how well they'd adapt to Godby's game style that he's now implementing, this European game style. Well, the answer quite clearly at the moment is fantastically, because they're still fragging, Godby doing a great job of getting them involved. But Jim, the question I have for you with Enemy on another eco round here is, they're finding themselves strapped for cash at the moment. Obviously, that puts a lot of pressure on Kusta trying to get that AWP out and being able to afford it. How can they best turn this around to make sure they get that AWP in his hands? What do they need to do?
Well, it's a bit of a difficult question, really. They need the economy, for starters, which is probably the biggest question over their head at the moment. NRG doing a really good job of just varying the tempo and getting those picks. But, of course, they just need to reconsolidate their economy, in my opinion, and just potentially not try and force the issue with these pistols on the force buy as Kusta pushes through the door there, gets caught by Justin. So there's some easy setups here for NRG, just really passive in setting it up. But, of course, they need to try and get that economy under control if Peter, or should I say Kusta, is to continue his AWP duel with Peter.
You're right, and it's always easier said than done. You can see at the moment just Lucky and, well, it was Relics alongside him, but at the moment it's just down to one sole member, Goblin at the back of the B site, trying to do something crafty, but in the end he does get taken down as Lydia has the peace of mind to actually check the B site, which is always a good idea for kids out there trying to learn from their pros. But at the moment, NRG take the lead in this match, 11-10, and looking back, I don't think they've had the lead for quite some time. First time in this half, so they've now got the momentum underway. Kusta does have that AWP. What can he do with it? You can see at the moment a couple of members of Enemy streaming out mid, trying to take control of mid. Kusta, meanwhile, locking down A, but really from a quite defensive angle, something that we don't come to expect from Kusta. He's actually playing from truck at the moment, so A site is nearly undefended in that sense. If they would come outdoor, they'd have a clear passageway into the site. But Enemy, or NRG I should say, quite content just to play back at the moment. You can see Peter in particular, super defensive from behind that truck.
Yeah, look, I think at this stage, Enemy don't really want to take any risks with that, or particularly Kusta. That's why he's playing such a defensive style. As we said, they are struggling at the moment with their economy and losing that AWP or any gun in a silly fashion. So, Legia finds Relics just wandering there in mid through the smoke. Peter, of course, is up that boost now, and they're applying a little bit of pressure to mid. Mainline, though, finds a great return frag onto Peter as he just whips away back into highway and quite smartly squares that ledger.
Yeah, Mainline, one of the unheralded members of Team Enemy. We've seen him performing really well recently and at the MLG Minor Championship, just behind Kusta in terms of stats of the events, and he's the in-game leader, so massive props to him at the moment. You can see in this 4-on-4 situation, NRG opting to go B. What did we say beforehand at the start of this half? That was their preferred site to attack at the moment, though Lucky's the only member there, but looks as though they might be pulling a bit of a swift one here as they throw a few grenades into the B side, and Godby and Silent lead the charge back towards the A side. They do catch a member there, Enemy, Uber, trying to scout out some information, pushes very aggressively into mid, and lucky to get away with his life, but it's Kusta here who's in a world of trouble in that AWP. We spoke about the need to keep it in his hands. Well, that's never going to be a good thing when he gets caught off guard like that, and Justin, what a double frag there, ripping the head off Uber. Great decision there. I love that fake onto B. Justin well positioned in A to make the right read that rotation had started to occur from Team Enemy. Godby relying and trusting on his teammates' comms, led the charge back through T Warehouse, back towards A, and really, Justin, fantastic frags there, 12-10.
Yeah, what a turret he is, just sitting and deployed in A, and quick frags in succession, as we do see now an eco coming in from Enemy, and that will edge NRG just a little bit closer to taking out the map, which was, funnily enough, as we said, Enemy's pick.
That's
so,
right. Yep.
If they potentially lose their pick already in this best of three, a lot of people...
Best of two?
Or best of two, sorry. Best of two. Could be warning signs here as their pick is yet to come. Of course, aggression there from Enemy, not being rewarded at all. Great little crossfire setup between the two former Mouse Sports compatriots. As now, Relics finds that frag, pushing into A main on Silent, and will at least attempt to get his gun before Justin cleans up on the flank. Just Lucky left remaining in this B side. Of course, so far away from the action at the moment.
I think the difficulty here and the worrying sign for enemy is obviously the scoreboard at the moment. It's about to read 13-10, but more so the fact that NRG are leading. I think that when you're a new team and when you're versing a new team, it will just give them so much more confidence when they're allowed to dictate the pace, play the game style that they want because they're in a strong position. They now control the money. They have the lead on the scoreboard. They're only 1 or 2 rounds away from getting that win on the board. They've already broken enemy's economy numerous times. I think for a young team and a new team, it's always much harder when you're forced to come back from behind. But when you're leading like this and when you're seemingly getting these frags at will, I mean, the last round they had 4 members surviving, 4 members before that, 5 members before that, 5 before that. As I hover my mouse over, they've really been winning these last few rounds really easily. Now that's the worrying sign because it means that everything's gelling. NRG are really comfortable at the moment. You can see Kuster, he's forced the issue. He's got the AWP, but doesn't have armor. That's the compromise he has to start making now to try and keep his team in it. And you can see that he's taking it towards A little bit more aggressive perhaps this time. But from an energy perspective, business as usual. Very slow split up approach. That's what you come to expect from a God B-led team across every map, not just Cache.
Very slow, very methodical is his approach to these maps, and as you said, it is something that we are seeing now more evidently. That glass cannon though for Kuster is worrying for me because again it's such a heavy investment. Uber, great little time push there actually from enemy as they do find, I do believe it was Gobi, the one trying to hold A main there, so he's already been eliminated from the round. Obviously their in-game leader now forced to watch from the sidelines. Of course, we'll still have direction as to what the team is doing. They are going to opt for some late mid-control here, but of course, enemy actually have 2 of their own sitting and waiting that AWP of Kuster, as is at short. He's taken a little bit of damage, I suspect, from a grenade that's come over, and now will be put under a little bit more pressure. That AWP of Peter is actually going to try and face off with him there in mid, and in the meantime, that bomb has made its way over to B main.
That's right, shouldn't come as a surprise now. We can say this time and time again, B side's their preferred site to attack. You can see them now splitting between vents and the B main. A lot of rotation from the CTs. I like this. This bodes well for them. They're well positioned with 3 members to defend it. Lagia moves in though and gets a great headshot before it gets taken down, but great trading there by the CTs. Puts a lot of pressure on Peter here. He's in a 1-on-2, was a 1-on-3. The bot time is ticking away though, 15 seconds left. Potentially suspects that Kuster might be at high ramp. He is, but look at that, Ducks, and millimeter perfect there as Peter can't quite make that shot onto Kuster. We'll get the plant though, that will help them. It's going to be quite difficult here, you'd think, for Peter to hold off in this sort of situation. Does throw a good flash there, but Kuster connects with the AWP shot whilst completely white. That's the sort of game sense that you normally see these sort of star players having, and full credit to him, but good work by the same token for Peter there, getting into the side, getting that plant down. You can see the economy at the moment. They are absolutely balling. Lagia has capped out at 16k. Justin's not far behind. Really, they've got their choice of rifles, their choice of utility grenades, and if they could potentially win this round, this could be lights out for enemy. This is the round of the match for me, Jim.
Yeah, this is a key round coming up in this map, of course. As we said, this is enemy's pick too, so the pressure's all on them at the moment. Their economy is in shambles, just as that nade is in shambles, of course, not really hitting its objective at all. Now, Justin does find some early frags in Kuster, so that AWP already has gone down, and surely alarm bells are ringing in enemy's headquarters there.
Yeah, they're in trouble now, aren't they? Kuster trying to get that pick and open something up for his team, but a little bit late to push open the door. He didn't do it straight at the start of the round. It was almost like he delayed 5 or 10 seconds, by which case Justin was well positioned to defend it. Picks up a second as well, so 5-on-3 now for NRG. You can see them putting a lot of pressure on this A bomb site. Molotovs, flashes, smokes. They're all raining in at the moment, and one member, it is Silent, he's lurking at the B side. I'm just wondering whether they'll fall back at the moment, because look at the overlay. All 3 members of enemy are there, and Jim, it does look like the bomb is now falling back. God B, they're boosting Lagia over mid, just trying to get the information. This is the sort of gameplay that I like. The team, even though they've got 2 frags, they're not panicking, they're not forcing the issue and busting onto the A side here. They're taking their time, they're cool, calm, and calculated, and as God B runs into the B side here, he should make the right read that it's completely empty. I just hope that Lagia doesn't commit yet. He does, the bomb has dropped. The fake isn't going to make a difference now because the terrorists, I mean, they need to recover at Peter though. He does just that. Good work. He can now have the opportunity to get it back towards B here, Jim. This will be a plan. B side is empty.
That is, of course, almost disaster for NRG. As now enemy actually just scout out that A main, get some information, and of course realise now that it is not going to be A at all. They need to save these weapons or do as best they can, but of course their HP is going to be a massive factor here as mainline gets caught out, and now only Lucky to try and survive and hold on to this weapon if his team is to have any form of success in this next round. Now, of course, he's been found out there. Silent is the one to do the damage, and unfortunately that is potentially a match losing round for enemy.
That's right, you can't help but feel, can you, that that's probably going to do it. That could be the final nail in the coffin here for enemy. I mean, great work by Justin getting the 2 frags. Massive job there. But I'm even more impressed by the fact that they didn't then execute onto A. They took their time. They scouted out B, despite the fact that there were a few difficulties in eventually getting the bomb over there. They scouted out B. They got the bomb back, planted, round over. Great mid-round call by God B. Great work by Silence as well in taking that B side. You can see at the moment, enemy forced to eco. Just a couple of players have invested in pistols, but for the most part, that's all I've got to really rely on. You can see very defensive play here. I mean, Peter, he's in T-spawn still. He's moved about 3 meters so far. If you look at his little Fitbit on his wrist, hasn't done much exercise today, Peter. He's still in spawn. But the rest of his teammates, that cool, calm, calculated approach to the round, and just trying to see if perhaps there's a stack from enemy or any sort of lopsided defense that they need to be concerned about.
That's it. Of course, Justin on that lurk in the A site. Just keeping Uber interested, as he's the only one tasked with defending A. And of course, that is exactly where the action is going to take place. That stack over towards B really isn't going to be called into play just yet, as Justin just gets out that door. Does actually find the frag into A, of course, and now on cleanup duty over in B. He has been eliminated himself, of course, Legia, but they do have one gun. And really, they should attempt to try and do a little bit of damage, or at least get another gun here for Kusta, because, as we said, they're going to be defending, or at least buying up next round anyway. Why not do it with a gun in hand, courtesy of enemy, as Kusta does get found out here by God B. Oh, I'm not sure what happened there in the rest of that round, but of course they didn't save any of those guns.
They died. That's my analysis. But, I mean, NRG had nothing to lose. They got so much money. They made the right play. All 4 surviving members chased and hunted down enemy. You can see them, though, this round. They're looking to finish this off in style very, very quickly. 4 members moving towards, surprise, surprise, the B bomb site. And I'm not sure if perhaps enemy are going to be expecting this sort of early play, this early into the round. They've been biding their time a little bit more so far in this half. But you can see that they're showing a little bit more intent and purpose to begin this round. Kusta, there hasn't all been checkers. Well positioned, perhaps if he was to step around to maybe catch a member or 2 off guard, but he'll need some support. Lucky gets blinded in the site. They're executing onto B here, and Silent does drop one. Moves through the smoke. Should catch Kusta off guard here as well, you'd surely think, but Kusta somehow, I think, dancing around the smoke with the aid of a few flashes, does get a frag before going down, but in the end, enemy forced to retake. It's 3-on-2 sort of situation for them. The bomb will momentarily be planted for B main. You can see Peter does now have the safety of the boxes to plant. Both CTs coming from the same choke point. Once the terrorists find that out, it'll be a job even easier for them. Utility grenades now being spent to slow down this retake. Peter drops one with a nice AWP shot, collecting the second, not the first into the site. He'll be claiming that he meant to do that, but all to do here for one member. Uber in the site. Doesn't have a kit. That's another extra 5 seconds in which he'll need to defuse that bomb. You can see it's well planted there. And those utility grenades that we spoke of that these NRG players are saving, coming into their full fruition here as Justin seals the deal. 16-11. NRG, great start to the CounterPit season. Really impressed by how well they played.
Yeah, really impressive. As even to the point where they were flashing for one another in that 2 versus 1, that B main plant, that flash was perfect. And of course, not a lot that enemy could do in the final rounds of that match. Really, I guess, well polished for a team that's only been together for such a little amount of time, but of course with such experience in their team and their lineup, like Gobi, of course, Legia and Peter, you'd expect them to use that time well. So whilst they haven't had a lot of time to practice as a unit, of course they would have been making the most of the limited amount of time that they do have.
Well, that's right. To put in perspective for people as well, in America at the moment, if my time zone calculations are correct, of course we are from Australia ourselves, we are currently ahead of time. we're on the 1st of February, but I believe it's currently Sunday night on the 31st of January for you guys. Not Mouse Sports, I've got them in my head. NRG picked up this X Method / Mouse Sports team on the 23rd of January. So that was just over a week ago. That's the sort of time frame in which we're talking about, in which they've been playing together. And I think I said beforehand that I thought that NRG would be a force to be reckoned with once perhaps they had another month or so under their belt. Well, I'm really impressed with the way in which they've started to gel seemingly instantly. I think that goes to show the sort of experience and leadership in which Lagia and Godby would be bringing to the team. And really, it's allowing these young players such as Justin, Silent and Peter to flourish in their system at the moment. I think that win there will give them a lot of confidence, particularly given that it was their terror side that got them across the line. It wasn't as though they relied on individual plays on CT side to get the job done and the terrorist side was a bit of a mess. No, quite the opposite. They scraped by on their CT side. They had an 8-7 lead on Cache, a map which normally lends itself quite well to CTs, but it was their